I am reminded of the final discussion I had with my mentor Kakasaheb Kalelkar before I started for Nagaland. I asked him, "Sir, tell me what I should do. What will I do there with Nagaland?" So he said, go with an open mind. You meet people, you watch the surroundings, see the conditions, and the atmosphere itself will tell you what to do. All right, if you insist, then see that every place where you are working has few important facilities. Number one is see that that place is linked by good road. Also try if you can provide water supply, clean water supply. If there is no school, then you must start a school there also. The post office should be there. And you must try your best to see that medical facilities are also provided. And then another thing he said that these days, this age of technology advancement, you must see that the telephone exchange is also open in that place.
With a keen sense of direction, Natwar was determined to achieve the agendas set by his mentor, and for this, he understood that communication in all respect was the key word. Dominated by 16 different tribes, this was a land of diverse cultures and traditions. Every tribe in the state has their own medieval communication system, which is very prevalent and dominant. Each village is a state by itself, all cocooned in one larger shell, Nagaland. Apart from connecting to the mainstream India, communication amongst themselves, in all respect, was a challenge. He believed roads were the path to salvation. Connecting each village to the other was a requirement of the time, and his quest to connect Sadullah, one of the most remote villages in the state, had begun. Decades later, a car trip through the same road was a memorable ride through the past.
So we used to negotiate this distance on foot only. So I was keen that we should have a road. And so were the villagers keen. They said that you must help us to get a road. I persuaded many quarters, and finally this road was formally decided to be excavated. Now actually the proposal is to develop this road into national highway. The designation is, I will show you the document. The description of the road is from Gandhi Ashram to International Trade Center in Tobu. That will be the national highway.
But even before the roads were being laid, Natwar concentrated on telephonic connections.
We had provided a telephone connection. It was with great effort that I brought telephone to Chuchuimlang and surrounding villages. 5 villages we connected with telephone. And then when the telephone link was available to the villagers, they were very happy. They could speak to Kohima, they could speak to Shillong, they could speak to any other places, students studying and all that. So now we are connected with the world.
Hello? Kohima? Yes. No, we are speaking to the... This was a rural area and then very, very remote place among our villages. Because of his advice and everything suggestion, especially this, for the development of every kinds of house, and then the village people also very happy that it was like a dream coming true. So before any vehicle moving around here and there to Sadullah, the telephone was set up, and then people were happy. We cannot express with our own tongue. But it was a wonderful thing. Instead of going to Kohima, instead of going to other villages, Sadullah was the first having telephone. So we have even up to today as a monument.
To break through the orthodox thought process of the Nagas was not an easy task. Very subtly, he had made way into the lives and hearts of the hill people. His influence on the people, especially the youngsters, were charismatic.
This young man, he's old now, but he was a young man when I first met him. His name is Imlitamchan, and he was sent by our ashram for training in beekeeping. He underwent 3 months training at Bahona near Jorhat. He completed his training, and we appointed him to work at a village in Marangkong. He worked for some time, again came back and he said, I don't want to work. Somehow, circumstances so developed that he went underground. He was in underground for some years, but finally he decided to come overground. And he was appointed as a primary school teacher, and he retired as a primary school teacher. So from underground volunteer to primary school teacher was a good journey. He completed it. Yeah.
Natwar always believed that the youth are the future of the nation. As a result, his flair of getting along with the youth was appreciable. As a part of his mission, Natwar was determined to imbibe great ideals into these young minds through his words and examples. The challenges to understand this complex society were colossal. Natwar was well aware of the core reasons for the unrest situations. Dissimilar customary laws, varied behavior, and style not only gave rise to inter-ethnic conflicts, but literally made it impractical for an outsider to comprehend it. However, Natwar's intellectual capacity of this diversity and its consequences gave him an edge in the entry into this world.
They were closed societies in their own clusters. They were not exposed. For example, Chuchimlang villager, till 1955, hardly few villagers had crossed boundary of Nagaland. They were all within their world began with village, ended with village. And I often said that the 700 villages of Nagaland were 700 independent sovereign republics, the village republics. They had their inter-village enmities, inter-village friendship, water treaties, ambassadorial practices, that kind of thing was there. So they were a self-contained, fully self-reliant society.
As much as he loved Nagaland and its people, he was but a true son of the soil. His conviction, wisdom, and justifications about the Indian establishment and its motives helped him sail through the difficult times. Despite the minor hiccups, even the worst agitations saw him holding his territory with utmost integrity. Sans weapons, he was fighting the fiercest war to his best.
People always argue with me, sometimes in friendly discussion, that India fought for independence. Why should Nagaland not fight for independence? If India can fight, Nagaland can also fight. We should have our right. I said there is big difference. I explained to them. You are already independent, I said. Because in British days, India and Britain were not on same footing. India had no representation in British Parliament. And India, all revenue used to be taken away to British. The future of India was decided in Parliament, which was in London. In contrast, citizens of Nagaland and citizens of Mumbai There is no difference. The destiny of Nagaland is not decided by few in India. It is decided by Parliament of Nations, Union of Nations, in which Nagaland also is member. Nagaland also has representation in Indian Parliament. In addition to that, in comparison with the rest of country, rest of the states of Indian Union, Nagaland is one state which has some extra provisions. No law can be passed by Indian Parliament about the customary procedure of Nagaland without the consent of Nagaland Legislative Assembly. So your rights are bigger than any other state in the country. Additionally, you don't have revenue. You don't have to pay taxes. Nagaland doesn't pay any central taxes. In addition, you get all your support from central government for running the state machinery. And as far as every day-to-day affairs, functioning of state and everything is concerned, Nagaland is completely free and independent. The Nagaland Legislative Assembly decides. There is no comparison of any kind between India under British and Nagaland as a member of Indian Union. Nagaland is independent, it's fully sovereign.
Natwar's ability to call a spade earned him accolades on many occasions. Imbibed with an unbiased nature, he stood up for the truth as required. Since he understood the languages of the armed forces, gradually he was playing the role of a mediator between the villagers and the guardians of law. This, in return, earned him goodwill and credit for his services.
There is a village called Mapungchukit. In Mapungchukit village, the army had ordered the removal of 35 paddy huts because the idea was to stockade the entire village so that to prevent infiltration of armed people in the village. The villagers came to me. They took me to the village. I went to the village. The army said that our need is this way. We want to create stockade and all that, and if we don't if we don't remove these huts, it will be a huge thing and it will be too much of. So then I said to village elders that, will you please help to construct the stockade so that these then I will request them to not to dismantle the paddy huts. That would have been a very big loss to villagers if they had dismantled it. So the army agreed that all right, let the villagers build the stockade and we will not dismantle the huts. So these kind of instances in 3-4 villages, the same, it is in Mapungchukit, it is even in Marangkong also there was some difficult situation and I intervened and that was solved. So as I said, the idea became that he is peacemaker. I was addressed as peacemaker.
Finally, after years of patience and hard work, the lifetime achievement awarded to him by the village council was the greatest accomplishment of his life. This award was a testimony that region had finally cradled him as its own child. Today, a favorite among the locals and an idol for the young, Natwar is fondly known as Uncle Robs.
Our extra assistant commissioner, he gave the, in fact, he is the director.
He's amazing. He's Mr. Chuchu Imlang and Mr. Nagaland as well. Uncle Rocks. Chalo. Safe journey.
Yeah. Hope we meet again.
By God's grace, I have received few awards occasionally, but whenever any award is received from Northeast, I consider this as more precious than all other awards. And out of all these, the award given to me by my village Chuchuimlang for lifetime service to Naga people will always be considered by me as the most precious award.
Though the main mission was peacemaking, amidst all that, Natur was determined to take on responsibilities of a different kind. Introducing the concept of money to a society predominantly dependent on the barter system was complicated.
I very vividly remember the efforts to start a branch of State Bank of India in Chuchuimlang before 1980. But for the bank to start, you need depositors, you need people who goes to bank and then transact. And it was a time when people had never seen a checkbook or a passbook. So my father again convinced the village council and the churches of all the neighboring villages to make a fixed deposit. And this was again not taken to very kindly by people. People took it as a punishment. They said that why should our money be kept in somebody's custody? What if it gets burned or it gets destroyed or somebody runs away with the money? But somehow he could persuade these people. The bank got started.
An eager learner, his love for technology and new gadgets helps him stay abreast with the trending modes of communication and be an active part of it.
He's got all these gadgets which he finds it difficult to operate because of his slow and his age, but he has 2 laptops, like I said, I mentioned printer, phones, he's on Facebook, WhatsApp, everything. So once in Guwahati, he used to live in Guwahati earlier. So one journalist came to interview him. So he expected that he's a Gandhian, Gandhian. So he expected someone with very simple, wearing khadi though he wears, but must be in a very, typical office. And then he enters and he sees this Gandhian sitting on his table with a laptop, clicking away. So he was like, oh my God, he wrote it in the interview also.
Natur believes that technology is the bridge to the future and thus the right time to introduce this skill to the sleepy town of Chuchuimlang had arrived.
Nagaland Gandhi Ashram passed through extraordinary circumstances, very difficult circumstances. It was swimming upstream always and keeping a plant alive in the midst of a blizzard. That was the kind of situation. Survival itself was big objective, survive at any cost. So when we completed 50 years, the thought occurred to me that Nagaland Gandhi Ashram still doesn't have resources to start any big activity or ensure its continuity for long, although I wish that it continues, but looking into realities. So I thought that the only option will be to bring certain activities and organizations which will permanently serve this locality.
On the 7th of August 2006 was a red letter day for the ashram, the village of Chuchuimlang, and also for the entire district of Mokokchung. NIELIT, the National Institute of Electronic and Information Technology Extension Center, equipped with the state-of-the-art infrastructure and technology, was going to be a huge instrument of change for Chuchu Imlang in the years to come. As an ultimate effort, Natwar discovered that he had to work for the socio-economic development of the people. He stressed on the importance of emotions and human relations and strived to accomplish it, but on Gandhian principles. 50 years down the road, the Naga society had ultimately recognized his work, his ideals, and his mentor.
One notorious development in Kohima was that at a junction of main road and link road to Raj Bhavan, a bust of Gandhiji was put there, and a bust of Gandhiji was put. Within 10-12 days, it was beheaded, and later was some writing was left there that we don't want any Indian to be on our soil. Under this background, when Chuchu Imlang Village Council approached me and said that in 2005, they said that we must celebrate Golden Jubilee of Gandhi Ashram and we must invite Prime Minister to be the chief guest. Then another said that whatever, if you succeed in getting any project, then we will give land free of cost. Additionally, what they said is one more request, that whatever activity you start or establish, it should be named after Gandhi. Gandhi being beheaded, Gandhi statue being beheaded in Kohima few years ago, and then one village insisting that whatever we do here should be named after Gandhi. That gave me great happiness that yes, to an extent, emotional integration has taken place.
The Mahatma Gandhi Academy of Human Development is an outcome of the endless efforts of the Nagaland Gandhi Ashram. The auspicious day of 2nd October in 2015 witnessed the establishment of the Mahatma Gandhi Academy of Human Development. The Academy, in collaboration with TISS, Tata Institute of Social Science, is a tribute to the father of the nation.
With support from Government of India, they were also recommending that I establish cooperation with Chuchu Imlang. So that is how we got started working with Natwar Thakurji. And that program has become Mahatma Gandhi Academy of Human Development was set up.
Tall and proud, the Mahatma Gandhi Academy of Human Development promises to take the future generation one step ahead in realizing their dreams. From the man who believes that giving is the best way to be rewarded, Natwar deems that the Institute is a priceless gift of Mother India to the future generation of Nagaland. Started as a solitary journey with only Bapu's words as company, Natwar has come a long way, inspired by him and his ideals. The hills now resonate with stories of change and courage. An epitome of selfless dedication and service, Natwar's life is an example of attaining the unimaginable.
the Chuchimlang Village Council, the present generation, we are prepared to uphold and carry on the policies of what Natwar Takarchi has imbibed in our minds. And we'll try our best to uphold and carry on, the policies and practices of Nagaland culture.
As he walks down the familiar roads, a sense of contentment fills his heart. He and his ideals are here to remain forever.